listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Welcome to another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. Live every single Tuesday night right here on all your favorite social media accounts. Except for Rumble. No, we're not banned on there. I don't think you can get banned on Rumble. But they're still doing some tinkering. And I think they're having some issues with their servers because I'm not able to stream on there.
They got some tinkling to do.
I guess you can head over to Facebook or YouTube, you know, the usual suspects. No, head over to X. Watch us live on X. We're on there too. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And
Keith Cheatham.
I always love it.
Yep.
I love that he's
Something special.
He's not Keith Cheatham. That's Robert Downey Jr.
It's Keith Von Doom.
Keith Von Doom.
Jonathan made me this because he loves me.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'll have to get mine during the break.
He doesn't love you. Don't lie.
No, he does. He made me something too.
No.
From a beloved childhood franchise.
Yeah.
And it's still a fantastic franchise. Not made into a movie yet, because I'm gonna make it.
I don't know if that was an intentional pun, but the fantastic was fantastic.
Didn't even mean to.
Yeah.
Totally
Fantastic
did not intend
franchise.
that.
Another fantastic franchise.
That's right.
Nice.
I'd
Yes.
say an even better one.
Well, probably.
I don't know. I have never read the Fantastic Four comics.
It's better than any of the movies made so far, and it'll probably be better than
that's
any
kinda
movies
more or
made in
less,
the future.
That's what I'm comparing.
Oh yeah, for
anything,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
What?
don't have faith in Marvel.
Well, here's the thing, because
A little bit more faith than I did have, I guess, thanks to Deadpool and Wolverine. But
we
still
just had it confirmed this past week
Yeah.
that Robert Downey Jr. said he is playing Victor Von Doom.
Yeah, he said Victor Von Doom, and that makes me nervous. I'm just like, why
Yep.
have an actor? Like, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, and then the other news that it's linked. It's just kind of an aside.
Yeah.
But
That I'm
James
cool
Spader,
with.
I'm
No?
not. Because look,
But you can't
Quit
do a Vision
dipping in
show.
the well.
But you
I
can't
don't
do
care.
Vision without Ultron.
then don't do Vision. Don't do it. We're done with him. His
No,
story's over.
Ultron is far from over. They didn't do crap with Ultron in the second Avengers movie. There's so much story with Ultron that
I
can
guess
be done.
he's just a voice.
I know.
But
I
I'm
know.
still just like I'm
bringing
tired
people
of-
back to try to No, I agree. The sentiment of bringing people back is dumb. I mean, the Secret Wars, like everybody's rumored to come back for that one. But James Spader, I didn't mind so much because I've hoped for a long time they would do more with Ultron because I didn't feel they did justice with him.
I thought
in the
he
second
did
Avengers.
Ultron very well.
He did, but there's just so much
yeah.
more that Ultron is capable of and does in the comics. I just kind of felt like
But are there
he was
other
a bit
stories
generic.
that they could do?
Oh, there's for sure other stories they could do without doing Ultron again.
Well, and I was
Yeah.
to say they've already teased at or even hinted at or that they could tap into considering all the multiverse crap.
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
like, I feel like they got such a huge fanfare praise out of bringing Robert Downey Jr. back.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, really? Now we're going back to James Spader? It's just another big
They want
acting name.
to try to it's okay. You could trust us. We know what you want.
That's what we were
So-
talking about before the pool tonight.
Yeah,
was just sitting around like
Y'all went swimming.
we did.
Yeah.
It was a little hot.
Yeah,
I
Sean
wasn't
mentioned
able
it's
to
like
join.
Marvel's like they're like, okay,
jealous.
now Marvel, I think instead of what we were getting, you're going to see a lot of, well, we're just going to give fans characters they want. Now, whether there's actually going to be any
Because of
more
Deadpool's
depth,
success.
Yeah.
And I mean, I agree. Like, yes, you should give fans the characters they want instead of characters they don't know and don't give a crap about. But at the same time, if there's still no substance and you're only giving fans the characters they want as just that nostalgia bait, but there's nothing actual there reason for them to be there, then it's still not going to matter. So we'll see.
You know what's crazy and who won't return? It's Tim Burton. Tim Burton's not coming back.
Oh yeah. Well, he's never
superhero
done
news.
Marvel, but he did say he's done.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel
But
it.
I'm not. I just say that because hey,
It's not a huge headline.
It's
I
not a
get
huge
it.
headline, but it's one of our headlines we're talking about tonight. He's not coming back.
He came back for Beetlejuice. That's enough.
Yeah. Well, we don't know yet. We'll find out.
It could be too much. Maybe he shouldn't have, but we'll find out. Yeah.
But considering everybody's love for Wednesday and how well he pulled that off, returning to the kind of the dark macabre, I'm hopeful.
I'm looking forward to Beetlejuice. I understand like his statement about not wanting to go back to comic book movies. I'm like, that's fine. Batman, like, sometimes I agree. It's like the Russos. It's like I'm again apprehensive. It's like, do you need to come back into that well that we are like you said we've already dipped from? It's like at some point it's okay for someone to walk away and be like, I'm done with that. Like Christopher Nolan, if he was like, I'm gonna make 3 more Batman movies, I might be kind of excited, but at the same time I'm like, do you need to? Like so
yeah. I didn't bring that up just so we could talk about it. I promise. I wasn't trying to dive into it right now.
It just happened. It was just a natural course of conversation.
We've got other headlines. Chick-fil-A's entering the streaming business. We're going to be talking about that. But we kind of rewound the clock a little bit to go into our review for tonight because there wasn't a huge... look, I'm going to say there wasn't a huge release this week. I've heard from... I think 2 different sources. Again, they're not like major names, but they're just people who I talked to, and they were like, "Don't blink," or not. I'm gonna say it was "Don't blink." Blink twice.
Yeah.
With Channing Tatum and Zoe Kravitz's directorial debut. Plus, she's in the movie.
Yeah, she's the star. She's the lead of the movie.
So it's like that. Apparently, was pretty good.
That's when my mom and stepdad went and saw it, and they said we needed to go see it.
Really?
So, yeah.
So maybe this will be one that we revisit. Maybe we visit it this week. I don't know.
It's one that I didn't think looked good, but if there's enough word of mouth,
there is a screener on our screeners.
There is.
Yeah, there's one in our Dropbox.
Well, there's nothing out this week either. We joked about maybe doing
Reagan.
I want to see Reagan.
Well, we said. Well, I didn't know if that was out in theaters.
It is. It has Showtime.
Man, I don't know. That'd be tough though. Yeah. Well, maybe Reagan then. But I was gonna say if there wasn't anything else out, we could do Don't Blink. But
no, it's Blink twice. I screwed it up
twice.
too.
There is a movie called Don't Blink,
but Don't Blink was like it's kind of like Don't Breathe.
Blink
in
twice
the sense
is the
that
Blink twice.
But no, what is it though?
Interesting. We teased about doing. I don't think we were serious, but if there wasn't anything this weekend, we joked like maybe we would do Borderlands because we skipped it.
That's right.
That's what it was. Well, if we're hearing good word of mouth from Blink twice, I'd rather watch that.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, Borderlands we already know is terrible. Like so.
But as always, we come up with the decision off the cuff. So who knows?
It's not got based on its Rotten Tomatoes score. I'm more interested because the critic score is only like 70.
Are you talking about what is this, Blink twice?
Yeah, Blink twice. And like when critics are lukewarm towards horror IPs, I feel like it's like, it must not be woke enough for them. So
well, I will say the only thing that probably intrigued me the most about it is that it's kind of a horror thriller, but with Channing Tatum being in it.
That is interesting.
It's a different take with him. I wouldn't have suspected him to take on such a role. So I'm kind of curious in that regard to see.
It's like, what's he going to do?
It's kind of the same thing with Josh Hartnett in The Trap. Yeah. It was kind of something different.
And he did it real well. He served that movie like perfectly. But so we ended up going back to a film that came out when Horizon dropped, and we skipped it because we weren't sure, and we thought, oh, well, Disney could go the woke course. We'll kind of wait and hear word of mouth. I don't know if we're pleasantly surprised. We shall hear the review and find out, but we reviewed Inside Out 2.
Yeah, it's
been out for a little while. Probably everybody's seen it except
in
for
June,
us.
So
it's but considering the haul that it brought in, I mean, it was
everybody's
huge. Pretty much. Well,
we talked about it. We're apprehensive of it at first for good reason, I think, because most of Disney's releases, especially under the Disney or Pixar banner, have been garbage. We weren't sure. We heard good word of mouth about it, so we thought we did mention we would check it out at some point since we skipped it opening weekend. So
I thought we were going to do like an informal review, but here it was, a dead week. Maybe not with Blink twice. We'll find out.
Plus, it is available digitally. You can rent or buy. It's just not on Disney Plus yet.
That's what we did.
So yeah,
we rented.
We got a good. Yeah. We got a nice, clean digital copy.
Nice. I like that. I like the way you put it.
It's a nice, clean digital copy. We didn't have to go with any jankety screeners. So
what did we think of the highest grossing kids film of the year?
Yeah.
Here's our 2 cents. This is our review of Inside Out 2.
Once upon a time, there was a small computer graphics group that journeyed through galaxies far away and Silicon Valley to reach Disney World, where they would grow, create, and then, as everyone nibbled on by the mighty mouse, turn to rot. Yes, Pixar's history has been fascinating. Having revolutionized computer film animation and created some of the greatest animated films of all time. But, like all of Disney's products, recent years have been bleak. Not this year. This year, however, has seen a possible return to form, with the highest grossing animated film of all time. And all they had to do was entertain. Released back in June, and reasonably cautious on what the film would deliver, we had temporarily passed on Inside Out 2. Inside Out is to this day one of, if not the, best Disney Pixar animated film made. The pinnacle of Pixar filmmaking, enjoyed by adults and children alike. Disney has destroyed so many fantastic IP, whether it be shoehorning ridiculously woke ideology and inappropriate content for children into films, or just a plain lack of care for the characters, stories, and lore of the IP they continue to expand. Inside Out 2 felt more ominous than promising. Picking up a few years after the first film, Riley is now a teenage girl beginning high school, and trying out for the high school girls hockey team. Invited to a weekend hockey camp by the high school coach, Riley discovers her longtime friends and teammates sadly will be going to a different high school, and ultimately play for a different hockey team. Inside Riley's mind are all of her core returning emotions. Joy, voiced again by Amy Poehler, sadness, Phyllis Smith, anger, Lewis Black, and fear and disgust, played by Tony Hale and Liza Lapira, replacing Bill Hader and Mindy Kaling from the first film. As the emotions gear up to guide Riley through camp and the start of high school, the console room is haphazardly thrown into renovation as a puberty alarm sounds and a new console and room for new emotions are made. These new emotions include anxiety, played by Maya Hawke, envy, Ayo Edebiri, embarrassment, Paul Walter Hauser, and ennui, played by Adelaide Exarchopoulos. Anxiety soon takes over, forcing Riley's original core emotions from the control room, where joy, sadness, anger, disgust, and fear must find their way back and stop anxiety from destroying the very person Riley is. Inside Out 2 is perhaps the best sequel Pixar has delivered outside of Toy Story 2 and 3. Adding on to the world created in Inside Out by tackling the emotions we encounter as we grow up and go through puberty, especially dealing with anxiety. What could have been another vehicle for overtly emotional and woke ideas actually handled the subject of anxiety and negative emotions well, showcasing the dangers and benefits of these emotions and what happens when they're left unchecked. The themes and story are solid, and the movie is mostly entertaining, providing a wholesome film with decent life lessons the family can enjoy. For the first time in a long time, this is a movie that feels like a true Pixar film. Inside Out 2 is not Pixar's best work, however, and while its massive success speaks more to the popularity of the original and the fact that it's a well-made, safe film all can enjoy, Inside Out 2 never hits the highs of the original or other better Pixar efforts. While much of the allegory and the creative representations of emotions and the inner workings of the mind, from sarcasms to locked-away secrets, are cute and clever, they never feel as smart or as humorous as the ideas on display in Inside Out 1. With so many of the original emotions and new emotions on top of new human characters for Riley to interact with, there's also a lot for Inside Out 2 to balance. And while I don't feel any of the characters are left out or underutilized, I also never felt anyone really got a chance to stand out or shine very much either. And while the crux of the film centers on anxiety learning lessons Joy was forced to learn in the first film, this movie still goes through the process of Joy having to learn a life lesson that, while different enough from her growth in the first film, is still close enough to somewhat undermine her growth from the original movie. It's a problem recent Disney sequels have had regularly. From The Incredibles 2 to Toy Story 4, and while not jarringly egregious like Woody's character assassination in Toy Story 4, it's still present. Inside Out 2 shines brightest in its portrayal of anxiety and how it affects the mind. Two scenes in particular resonated strongly with me, especially in their depiction of anxiety at work in the mind. This being the film's end and a scene showcasing anxiety's control of the imagination. That said, while these, in my opinion, were the best moments in the film, showcasing the film's themes, I still never felt as emotionally invested as I did in the first movie. Inside Out 2 is good, but just that. Outside of appreciating some of the relatable and creative aspects surrounding anxiety, the film doesn't have anything else to offer that wasn't done better by the original movie. But that said, it is still the best family film to release so far this year, and is a much closer return to form for Pixar, and a hopeful step in the right direction for the company. I give Inside Out 2 3 out of 4 stars.
3 out of 4 stars for Inside Out 2. That's not too bad, not too shabby. I mean, heck, they're winning at the box office. They're winning with Deadpool, Wolverine, and then this. I mean, my gosh, is Disney on a winning streak?
No.
Is this it? Is this a return to the House of Mouse?
We've already had this conversation back when this movie was doing so well. And no, I just think it's they know the other crap doesn't sell, so they're playing. Because even this movie, while it wasn't bad, it didn't do anything I felt the first didn't do better. Like I said in the review, like the only parts I really liked was how they handled some of the anxiety stuff, because that was different and new. But outside of that, most of it I was pretty much just a lesser version of the first movie. And I feel like it was just kind of them playing it safe, saying, well, we'll just do this because Inside Out will sell. The idea was good enough that I think it justified why it's there, but not entirely. I was like, it wasn't something I felt was needed. Like, I was fine for what it was, but I wasn't so overly impressed like with Toy Story 2 or 3. It was definitely better than Toy Story 4 or Incredibles 2 or some of their other sequels that they've done, but I still, like I said, I gave it 3 stars. It was fine, but I didn't think it was spectacular on like the Pixar level that we've seen before.
I mean, 3 out of 4 is, I mean, I don't know. I guess I enjoyed it a little bit better than one I was expecting, but especially for it to be as complimentary to the first one as it was.
Yeah.
I did. I going to see it with, I think the audience is important too, but going to see it with like my niece and nephew and my parents were there. It was one of those movies where I had already heard decent word of mouth of it for people who had given it a chance, but then I was just like, I was actually kind of impressed with how well it struck certain chords, and I didn't get as emotional as the first movie, no doubt, and we gave the first movie 4 stars, and I think it no doubt deserves that. This one, though, I would agree. I'd stand at 3 out of 4 stars. I think it's worthy enough of a sequel, but yeah, not in the same ranks as, say, Toy Story 2 or 3, as you mentioned in the review, and obviously do not think they needed to explore any more emotions, especially with because again, some of the tongue-in-cheek stuff about, dark secrets and whatnot, like I liked how they illustrate those in the movie, but again, that was the creativity and what made the first one so unique. But when you are just making those same kind of abstract ideas but illustrating it in another magical, kid-friendly, artistic way, it's funny and cute, but it isn't as unique anymore. The newness has wore off. And in this one, because they didn't really, push the boundaries as much as I think they could have, exploring different, kind of in what I was hoping Soul would be. And they dropped the ball completely with Soul. But this one at least still stayed in the same realm, and they didn't, I think, go too far or jump the shark. But I definitely think they could have, I don't know, maybe express some more nuance with the new emotions they added, instead of, like you said in the review, learning the same lessons that Joy had to learn in the first one, and even she had to kind of repeat.
I didn't mind that, like, okay, anxiety kind of had to learn some of those lessons, so it wasn't Joy having to relearn everything, but there was still an extent, like I said in the review, where I felt like even though the lesson was a little bit different for Joy, it still was close enough to the first one that I was like, I felt like she should have, like, as a person, she would have caught on, and I know she's a fictitious emotion in someone's head, but it's like typically I'm like, it's like this isn't that different from what you learned the first time around, like, but it wasn't as bad as like I said, Woody in Toy Story 4, where pretty much everything he learned in the first 3 movies he's like completely forgotten,
aloof.
So like I said, they were mostly minor gripes. Like I said, I didn't think it was as funny or as witty as the first with some of the stuff. Like the sarcasm was funny, the locked up secrets was kind of funny, but it was also like reminiscent of Bing Bong to me, so I wasn't as like impressed with, like I said, it was funny, but I just didn't think it was as clever as like the first movie.
Sean, what about you? What'd you end up giving?
I went with 2.5.
Oh wow!
And that's just because I never gave the first one 4. I was at 3 stars on the first movie.
Okay.
I definitely think out of Pixar's, out of that lineup of films, this is not one of the stronger films, and neither was the first one. I didn't think it compared at all with Up and Toy Story and Finding Nemo and those movies. So I got to rank them that way.
Yeah.
But I also felt like Inside Out was better than this one, just in terms of emotionally. There was something there that struck chords with me. This movie had me in nowhere. I mean, the only thing I would give this movie over something like Turning Red is it definitely covered the aspect of puberty in a much more kid-friendly and creative way. So I like that it's showing young kids like moving into your young teens, adolescent years. Like, these are some of the new emotions that start to come up, and they do seem like they, take over your life for a short period of time. Especially if you're a parent, that's what it feels like when your kids start doing that, because my 11-year-old is starting to hit that.
Right.
And it's like, wow. Like,
Middle school is where it is.
What people are living in your head, dude.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot going on there. So I think it handled that in a good and creative, like I said, kid-friendly way. Turning Red, I felt like walked a line in terms of between kid-friendly and this is more for teenagers. I don't feel like it tackled puberty very well, but I thought the new characters and stuff were great. I do like the tongue-in-cheek of suppressed emotions and bottled up emotions.
Yeah,
and all
that was
stuff.
that part was witty.
Yeah, so it's really one of the biggest gripes that I would say that I have is just that the movie did not bear any weight emotionally with me. I watched it with my kids. They both said the first one was better, and I agreed with them because we just rewatched the first one a few days ago, and they were just like, yeah, that was not as good as the first one. But so it didn't resonate with them either. I just feel like
it's weird because
it's not woke, but they still checked boxes. I mean, her friends, she's white, one friend's black, one friend's Asian. The girl she wants that she idolizes is Hispanic. It was like, and one of the girls in the locker room is Muslim. It's like, man, you still got to check all these boxes and include all these.
I still go back to something I think I said right after I'd seen it, because I spoke about it on the podcast.
Yeah.
I think the week we went and saw it, which was like maybe a couple weeks after it had released. And I agree. It's definitely, if you're looking for it, it's there.
Yes. It's not like.
Right. And to me, I'm like, I think because you almost every single one has to have some kind of like, that's the only reason it's so noticeable is because they were like, okay, we got to cover all of our ethnic
has to
groups.
Be all this representation
in
the film.
It is ridiculous in that sense because it is. It's like, again, as an adult, you see it.
Yeah.
You're bashed over the head.
You can't
with
have
it.
two white friends.
Right.
God forbid.
Right. And no. You're right. It is.
It was
ridiculous to that extent. But as far as them playing it any deeper than that, it doesn't.
Yeah. No, it doesn't.
And actually, what I liked
that,
was that the friends she gets to know in that circle have their own individual tastes, and even the one girl that you think maybe they're gonna kind of set her up as like the mean girl, that is gonna coax her into being a part of this group and having to check off certain things that like kind of hazing or whatnot.
Yeah,
but they didn't go that route.
No,
and I actually was okay with that. It was all of the things that you do when you are a teenager of overthinking and your emotions are what are amplifying all of these reactions to the scenarios.
Yeah.
And I thought that, to me, again, that's why I agreed with the diversity from that perspective in terms of the having a social group, because it's like diversity in any movie you saw before it became the hot topic of we got to check off these boxes. It was like, it's there, but you don't have to notice it because who cares? I mean, if you go back and watch the Power Rangers, Power Rangers never bring it up, but there's an Asian one, a black one, a white one.
Yeah, there was always they always
had a diverse cast of characters, and
but it wasn't the focus of. It's like, look at us, we have a black Power Ranger, an Asian Power Ranger. They didn't like make it stand out.
It just because again, it was about it's a group of 5 friends, and so I felt like this in terms of its diverse effort puts the ethnic groups in there, but it thankfully does not, cater to any kind of woke messaging they have a certain perspective because they fit this group.
I like also one because I for a little bit, I was on the fence with 2.5, mostly through the movie, because it wasn't resonating with me emotionally as much and such. But there were 2 scenes, and I do mention them in the review, that did resonate with me as someone who, like, I have anxiety all the time about everything. And that was what I liked, is that they didn't go woke with the anxiety topic, because I thought they might.
Mental health issues.
I liked that they were like, you have these emotions, they're natural emotions. Sometimes they can be helpful, but when you let them overrun you, that's a problem. And I appreciated that they didn't try to make it like, well, that's just someone who has anxiety and that's normal and you should just cater to their anxiety. It's like, no, that person had to learn to control their anxiety. They didn't have the world cater to their anxiety.
Yes, it's normal to grow through that. Yeah.
And I appreciated that. I liked the scene when they're like in the imagination land with the fort and like everyone's imagining every possible horrible scenario. I do that so often. So that resonated with me a bit. I mean, like to the extreme, like they were doing with like anything possible.
No, yeah.
I'm like
your mind wanders down. Like,
but I mean, I feed into that sometimes too with the anxiety. Like, oh, I'm not going to ask this person this or say this to this person because they're going to fly off the handle and be crazy angry. When in reality, they're not going to at all. They would have no reason to. Yeah. But I convince myself, I'm like, oh no, that person will be pissed if I do this.
There's definitely moments in the movie that even with my kids while we're watching it were learned moments. Like, I mean, the sarcasm. We're sitting there on the couch. My son is just like, I'm laughing at it, and he's just like looking at me like he doesn't understand the joke. And I'm like, buddy, you say things all the time
that are sarcastic,
that sound so rude and sarcastic to me and your mom. Like, it's like you're talking to us like we're dirt, but you don't think you're talking to us that way.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's what this is kind of talking about. They think they're saying it in a normal, friendly way, but the people on the other side are hearing it as... And
they're
he's
both
just like,
man, they're jerks.
Yes, yeah.
Great.
And I'm so there were very creative and clever moments in the movie, and I'll give it that. I just, again, like I said, the first one I didn't rate that high at 4. I know you guys did, but I was more like 3. And this one was a little lower. It wasn't a bad movie. It's probably not one that it's not one of the Pixar movies that I'm going to be like, yeah, let's pull that out and watch it.
Yeah.
Like I would with Encanto, or not Encanto.
Coco?
What's the Coco?
Coco, I love Coco.
Coco's great.
Yeah.
Coco is really good.
Yeah.
It's one that's grown on me, I think, because, again, something where they use the ethnic angle and, using something like Dia de los Muertos from, Hispanic culture or Mexican culture.
Yeah, they used it, though, to highlight another culture.
Right.
Not just to sprinkle it in
familial
to
bonds.
check a box.
Yeah. And to actually truly show the power and strength of family.
Yeah.
And I thought, again, and I will give credence to this movie, and of course even the first Inside Out. I mean, I agree. We rated it higher, but for me it was because when Pixar seems to touch on these tougher subject matters that I think are harder to explain, especially from like a parent to a child, or even for some that just are not great at articulating it, it's a great way to demonstrate and illustrate to kids, whether they are coming of age or whether you're an adult, just looking back on your childhood thinking, oh my gosh, that resonates so much with where I'm at. I mean, I would agree in this one. I liked it because they didn't replicate the same dire instance that they had from the first movie, where it was like, oh, she knew she was moving to a new town, and then there's a scene, like a whole fantastic scene of her like about to leave home and run away. And I thought all of that, especially from even just the like subtle little tie-in of throughout the whole movie, it's like she can only have one emotion at a time. And then it's like at the end when you see the melding, and I liked how they re-explained that in the beginning of this one, to be like, oh no, she's got all these memories now that are sad or
but that's
disgust,
who makes her.
Right, and that's what makes each of us individuals.
Yeah,
and it's not to say that she's specifically special because of these specific things. It's just these are these circumstances that can apply to all of us, and we have our own experiences and our own feelings as we go through them, and it takes just a very, what sometimes I think can be an abstract or even difficult subject matter, and distills it down in a creative way that it's not only digestible but entertaining. And it gives you those heartwarming moments as well of like, oh my gosh, I've experienced that too, and it speaks to your heart that way. So I don't know, it had, to me, I was definitely being extra generous, maybe because like I said, I was there with my family.
That's what happened to me with Finding Dory.
Oh gosh,
I went and saw that with my
still
nieces
could
and
not
nephews.
believe
Extra
you
generous.
ever gave that.
They loved that movie so much, and I had fun like watching it with them.
But that's where I blame you as an adult and your discernment
You should know
of
better.
knowing that it was just cheap garbage.
Mm.
You gave that 4 stars.
Did I give it 4 stars?
No, you gave it 3.5.
Okay, I didn't think I gave it 4.
It's
I would
not a
never
3.5
give it
star
four.
That
movie.
one was a
No.
2-star movie.
I'd give it
Sorry.
2.5. I don't think it's a bad movie. It's ridiculous at the end with the octopus driving the truck, but outside of
That's-
that,
yeah.
outside of that, I don't. The rest of it's just mediocre. Like it's fine.
I mean,
I don't
I
know.
think though there was like this. It was being there with the family, but
Yeah.
it was also this itch that I had been longing for so long from Pixar
But yeah,
that has not been scratched.
you go into it thinking that it's going to be just utter garbage.
right.
And I did too, because I'm being 100% honest with you. I thought the whole anxiety thing was going to be because she was confused about her sexuality. And I was thinking they're either going to make her not sure about what gender she is, or she is
Something.
in love with this other hockey player girl, and she's having that is part of the anxiety and
I
all
thought-
of that
I thought they were
identity
gonna allude
issues
to it.
and that's what I was waiting for, and not receiving that and not getting any of that message at all from the alphabet community. That was refreshing.
100%.
So I will say yes, it was one that I was dreading having to watch after you saw it and gave it the green light, because I know you're hyper aware of stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And I think when I watched it, even the whole diversity thing, I was just like, me and my wife were talking about it after the next day, because she was telling her parents about it, and I was just like, I mean, yeah, there's it's good and this and that and the other, and I was like, it just they had to make every character a different ethnicity or whatever. And she was just like, I didn't even notice that. And I was like, you didn't notice that she was white, and one friend was black, one was Asian, one was Hispanic, and one was Muslim,
Right.
and all that. And she's just like, no, I didn't notice
I
that.
think average
and I'm like,
audiences
I'm
don't, though.
looking
But,
for
well,
it.
I was
So-
going to say, and I think because we cover it,
I've been
and we
jaded.
see it. Well, yeah,
So,
we
yeah.
see it
Yeah, yeah.
shoved in our mouths. Or I mean, because here's the thing: we also consume a lot more than the average, moviegoer
Yeah,
or
yeah.
even TV watcher. And it's like, I think a
We're
lot of
watching
times,
at least one movie a week, at
Right.
least.
and some people they get hooked on a show, and,
Yeah.
and sometimes the shows we've all been there where we jokingly are like, oh, here's the woke moment,
Yeah.
and they shove it in there, and then sometimes they derail and never come back.
Right.
Other times though, they just sprinkle it in there to be like, yeah, we're pushing the message, and then they do
House
it
of
for
the
one
Dragon.
episode, and
Yeah.
then they never come back.
Yeah.
Well, and that was the disappointing thing of season 2.
Yeah.
Season 2, they had 3 or 4 episodes where certain little plot elements were sprinkled throughout, and it's like when you're looking for it or when you're expecting it, because so much of it has been thrust, like just forced in your face, you get tired of it. So yeah, I don't blame you for seeing it, but I think for most people, I was pleasantly surprised that when it was there, but no tension was brought to it.
Yeah.
I expected there to be, like with the girl who's in the hijab or something, like I thought they were going to bring some kind of reference, or even our parents were going to
Yeah.
show up and be like, oh, come on, we have to go pray now.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It was like,
I'm
let's
just
go
like,
for pepperoni pizza. I'm sorry, I can't eat pork.
right. Some
Something.
Jew pops in the background. But no, I
Yeah.
did. I expected some kind of subtle reference just to be like, see, we're aware.
Yeah.
But thankfully, there wasn't any of that. It was literally,
No,
I mean,
the
if
only
there's-
one that noticed it was me. Like I drew my own attention to it.
Well, and there
So,
was
yeah,
actually
I can admit that.
a reference that I enjoyed that they took focus out of that, because I can't remember if it was her or another character. It was one of her many diverse friends, but she was like listening to music, and they were all talking about the music they like, and of course she wanted to fit in, and so she picked something but was afraid they wouldn't like it. And it just blurted it out, and then like they all agreed.
Yeah.
They were like, "Oh yeah!" And then they're all sitting there sharing the same music, and I was sitting there and I was like, "Okay, perfect way of just summarizing like diversity in terms of tastes and interests, and like that's where you explore diversity. Again, diversity of thought, not necessarily. I mean, even cultural diversity. It's fine for purposes of like learning other cultures.
Yeah.
But to somehow say one is paramount over another, that's where you start to get into the woke DEI push of we're going to suppress this one in favor of this one. And that's where I have the problem. And thankfully, no, Inside Out 2 never ever dabbles in that. So overall, I thought it was a very family fun film. Like I was happy to see Pixar.
Of all the family films I've seen this year, I mean, it was the one that entertained me most, to be honest. So
How many have you seen?
If, Garfield.
That's true.
I
Yeah,
didn't watch Despicable Me 4. I feel like I've seen something besides If
It
and
was
Garfield.
it was
though.
just more of the same. Despicable Me 4 was.
Was
I mean,
it?
I would say I would agree that out of all of the family-friendly movies or kid-friendly movies that
reviewed.
we've watched recently, this would be one of the better ones, one of the safest ones, I would say.
Yeah,
But
and that's
but yeah.
and I think that's the most. Maybe I'm being a little bit more lenient because of that, but it was refreshing to walk out of a theater almost a year removed from Lightyear and Strange. What was it? Strange World or Stranger World?
Strange World.
I think it's Strange World.
Strange World.
Yeah.
But to know that you're walking out of a Disney Pixar film and you don't have to discuss with your family members, like either one, don't
You
go
don't have to
see it, or
explain anything, yeah.
here's what you don't want to take away from like having to walk on pins and needles. It was like coming out of the theater just feeling thoroughly entertained and being like, wow, this is what it always felt like walking out of a Disney Pixar movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really hopeful, again, maybe in the same way they've learned a little bit of a lesson with Deadpool, Wolverine, and where they're headed with Marvel. Again, so much
we're waiting to see. I
wait
mean,
in anticipation for, but I'm hopeful they're on the right track.
and again, it just like with Marvel, I don't expect. Like, I'm not expecting like just a complete turnaround right after this movie. Just
No.
like with Deadpool and Wolverine, it's like,
And I'm not willing to let
they've
them
had-
off the hook.
Oh no, I'm not letting them off the hook. But at the same time, I'd say that they've had so many things in the works that I'm also not going to say like, oh well, if anything after this is, it's like I'll give you a couple more movies and realize that maybe the next one or two might still be kind of.
It's kind of like how we were with DC, where it was like, well, you still got all of these Snyder era films
so you
that we
gotta
got to get through before we can get to James Gunn.
It's like, and then now
let's
next
see.
year's James Gunn, so
Yeah.
we'll see. So
Let's
it's like
see.
after
And
we
still got
Suicide
what was
Squad
it?
was not good.
No,
Yeah.
and we still had what Wonder Woman 2 was not good.
Not good.
No.
Well,
that's what he was talking about. We had to get through all those
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
because we still haven't gotten technically James Gunn's DC
Yeah.
yet.
True.
We've only had the remainders, and they were all bad.
Black Adam was the only one that I would say
that was
worth
okay, and
watching.
they
Yeah.
completely scrapped that for James Gunn's
we,
universe.
And it's weird because we knew that right before we knew they were going to scrap that one. That
Yeah.
was before Aquaman 2.
Yeah.
So we were willing to
Yeah.
even let go of Wonder Woman 2 and how bad it was
Yeah.
and be like, hey, Wonder Woman was still great.
Blue Beetle and Aquaman both
Oh,
came
I forgot
yeah,
about Blue
yeah.
Beetle.
Yeah. Those both came out after Black Adam, and Blue Beetle
Wait,
was
no.
garbage.
I think Blue Beetle was before.
No, it
the
came out. It
worst
came out in
movie.
September, like after Black Adam.
Was it?
Yes, that one and Aquaman were the
man.
last. Actually, Flash. It was Flash, Blue Beetle, and Aquaman were the
And
last
Flash
three.
was surprising.
Flash was better.
Flash was
yeah.
good.
That
yeah.
had an emotional
Yeah.
The
time.
funny thing
That
is,
was
they
really
could have
surprising.
used that movie to really reset the DC world,
Yeah.
and they didn't.
But look
So-
where they went with that. They went the same place that Deadpool and Wolverine have went, and that
Yeah.
Marvel's going to go. They brought back one
Yeah.
of the greats.
Yeah.
They brought back Keaton and all, and threw in all of the
We'll see. I mean, I
digital
don't know.
cameos
And
of
even with
Nicolas
George
Cage
Clooney
and all
at
that
the
stuff.
end.
Like, yeah,
It's just only time will tell. It's like
it was fan bait.
that's all they know right now. They don't know. They know that they've been in hot water and making crap people don't like. So they're like, just pull in what we know people like.
Yep. Alrighty, I think we're ready to move on to our headlines for the night. Let's roll that open. I like the whistle. The whistle is new.
The whistle.
Yeah.
Oh, was
all
Sean
I
whistled?
got.
That.
I
liked
didn't even hear it.
Oh, I didn't even bring it up. I brought it out.
What?
I didn't even bring it up after the review.
What?
It's been sitting here the whole time.
Oh my!
This is what Sean made me.
Oh, there it is.
I'm talking about. It's
there
about
it is.
time he
Yes.
uses it in the
He
right
uses
manner.
something else.
That was great.
That was
so
good,
hold on,
yeah.
I'm gonna pick it up and then show it on.
Oh, it's not that big of a deal.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Because he brought up Doctor Doom and Fantastic Four,
Yeah.
but nobody knows about. Wasn't even on it yet. People who've never played Metal Gear Solid,
Yeah.
you're missing out on a fantastic
great game.
franchise. Except for when they butchered it with MGS5. We were talking about it before the show because this is a fantastic Metal Gear Rex from Metal Gear Solid, the first one in the series. Well, third one in the series.
Yeah.
But I will say, I mean, just the fact that you can like 3D print, that's 3D printed.
Yeah.
That's legit. I mean, that looks like a model you'd buy in the store.
Yeah.
That's
And have
so
to build
cool.
yourself, but you didn't have to do that.
Yeah, because you said you printed it in how many pieces? Was it?
It's like 10 or 12 pieces, and then you assemble it and paint it.
Just
and-
like a model.
Yeah.
You just.
I
It was
mean, that
just
is
it was
cool.
just gray when I printed it, but yeah, that's
I like
my
I will
first
say,
attempt at something like that. So
you know, it's a series that I grew up with, and heck, even that game,
Amazing game.
I pretty much couldn't beat it, so I had to watch Chip play it, and it was, I mean, at the time that came out, I didn't realize. Well, I sort of did, because I think I remember watching him play like Final Fantasy VII, but it was bringing games into the cinematic universe, and then that propelled it like leaps and bounds ahead of me. I mean, it has like voice acting. I mean, we're talking about PlayStation era.
The only two
PS1.
The only two that I've ever played, because I've never played Snake Eater.
Oh, Snake Eater's the best.
Yeah. But I played Metal Gear, the one that was on the GameCube.
Yeah, that's Twin Snakes.
Twin
Which
Snakes.
is
a
remake,
remake
of that one.
Of that game.
Yeah.
Metal
But
Gear
it's also,
Solid.
they
Yeah.
redid the action scenes and like the voiceover work, and it is not.
It's not as good.
Here's the thing.
The story's the same, but
The story is the same. It's over. I think it's over dramatized.
yeah.
And also the gameplay mechanics from MGS2 are imported in, but make it easier. Because if you play, it may be easier to digest on current consoles. Because if you go back and play the first one on PS1 and you don't really understand
the
how
controls are a little more.
it's just
jaggedy.
weird for 3D games at the time.
Yeah.
Like it works for its. You know, I still think it holds up well.
It's not
Yeah.
tank controls like Resident Evil.
Oh, gosh, no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's nothing that crazy, but yeah, the controls are a little.
I
little
mean,
more
there's just
awkward.
certain things that you have to get used to in the way it plays, but it's definitely, to me, unfortunately, the Twin Snakes does not recreate the secret sauce that is Hideo Kojima and what Kojima has been known for in the auteur that he is. And where it really kind of came to shine in the first game, and of course in subsequent MGS games.
So Twin Snakes and then MGS4 is the only two that I've ever played.
See,
all the way
and it's
through.
weird because and MGS2 gets a lot of flack. I'm going down a Metal Gear vein. If you get me on it, I'm going to talk about it. But MGS2, and this is kind of cool for anybody out there who's played it. I'm not telling them anything they don't know. If it's very, very long-winded in terms of cutscenes. I would say more so than 4. 4 has the longest cutscene.
4 is insane.
It's ridiculous. I mean, literally, it has the record for longest cutscene in a video game at like an hour and a half. So, I mean, the ending cutscene in MGS4 is an hour and a half long. So people, that would blow their mind if you said that was in a game. But it is tying up the saga at that point. But MGS2 is mostly codec calls, which I think is why it gets a worse rap. Because
I was going to print you one of those.
Least,
but
it would be awesome
I had the codec thing, the walkie-talkie looking thing.
Well, they change.
Yeah.
Because technically they... Like, is it the image of like what it looks like in the game when you push it? Because they don't have walkie-talkies.
It's like it looked like a handheld thing.
Yeah, that's probably from 5. It's probably if what I'm thinking, I forget what it's called in 5. The iDroid or something is what it's called in 5.
Now the little droid thing I could get too, but this was like a handheld walkie-talkie with an antenna on it.
Yeah, I think it's called I'll have to look at it. If you show me a picture, I would know which one it's from. But 2 gets a bad rap because it is the most long-winded in terms of like exposition. I mean, it literally, like, you'll play.
God, yeah, talking about the DARPA chief and
yeah,
and all this. I mean, just all
yes.
this stuff. It was like, oh my god.
DARPA chief's in the first one.
He's in the first one.
I'm just.
But here's the cool thing about 2, and I think you would find this interesting now, Sean, if you played it. If you got through the cutscenes, you have to remember this came out in 2001.
Yeah.
But the story talks about digital censorship.
Yep.
Oh
and
yeah.
how much of a role it plays.
Oh yeah, and memes
and there's literally a
everything.
YouTube video, and I wish I could name drop them right now. But if you just type in YouTube, I think it's not prophetic. It's like maybe it is prophetic.
It covered memes and
memes,
all kinds of
Oh no,
stuff.
but MGS2 is way ahead of its time.
Way ahead.
I think people.
And I think
just
that's
didn't
why it gets
appreciate-
its bad. 3 is the most.
Swapping out the main character is what I think people couldn't get past that. But when you look at the deep story, like the actual story,
Why it was the way it was done, and for the purposes
You're
it was
right.
done.
It's the iDroid.
Yep.
And
that's
then,
from MGS5.
So it was between that. And
I'm a
then
nerd on
This is what I
MGS.
thought the iDroid was, but that's from MGS4. I remember that.
Oh, that's
The Mark II.
Mark II.
Yeah.
I was going to print that.
That's the Mark II.
But then I went with Rex. Yeah.
But yeah, I think 2 is just if you go on YouTube and just search for like most prophetic moment in gaming, a guy does a
believe it.
really awesome video on. There's literally a codec call you get at the very end of the game that explains this thing you've been talking to the whole time, how it's an AI.
Yeah.
And it basically like it's so eerie to think that Kojima wrote this back in 2001.
Yeah.
And and honestly, you can go to like 1984, Brave New World. Like there's all these different like post-apocalyptic, but also, very deep state thinking oriented. I mean, again, it's like if you logically think through the steps of what any human would do with power once they were in power to control others, and you take it down that road, it's just cool how it's these people.
It's sad that you can rationally think about that, but people will still let that exact thing happen because of how stupid. Like, no, that could never happen. It's like it's happening right now.
Oh yeah, that's what kills me about the whole 19. And that is, again, we need to get on the headlines.
Yeah.
I know,
Even
I know.
1984 kills me because it's like, do you not see the correlation? And yet you would say, "Oh no, that could never happen." But
and where does
just
fiction
happened.
come from?
Like,
It's like I understand,
like,
people have imaginations. You make stuff up,
Yeah,
but you
but
make stuff up based on what you know
already
and
know.
what you
Right.
learn and experience.
Yeah, the past
and
repeats itself. Yeah.
It's like, these things are. If you can imagine it outside of something fantastical like wizards doing magic, it's like. It's like there's a lot of things that are possible that these authors aren't just it's just George Orwell was just making up some fictitious story. It's like he's based it on
it's
like
weird
you said,
because
how people
try to find
behave.
MGS2 and play that. I don't know if I could have to.
It used to be my
Actually,
favorite.
I would
It was
have
the
to,
only one.
You could
emulate it.
No, you wouldn't. In fact, you could play it from either one of us because we have the collection now.
Oh yeah.
So you could
If
just
you want to
Oh,
log
the
in.
the HD collection.
They came out with
master.
the volume 1 of the master
Yeah.
collection is
Yeah.
now on PS5 and Xbox.
Yeah, you can log in as one of us
Okay.
and just
And
play
just-
our
yeah.
versions.
So the next one is supposed to have Snake Eater and
Well, Snake
Sons of the
Eater's on
Patriots,
this
right?
one.
Oh,
Yeah.
But Guns of the Patriots.
Guns of the Patriots. I keep thinking
Uh,
Sons of the Patriots. What am I talking about?
Sons of the Patriots is the system that they use. It's just Guns of the I'm sorry, I
It's
am mixing it
Guns
up.
of the Patriots.
Sons of Liberty.
Sons of Liberty is
yeah.
the second game. But no, they do potentially the I guess the plan is in Volume 2 they're going to have MGS4, Peace Walker, and Phantom Pain.
Yeah.
They're going to bring even though Phantom Pain
Ground
is technically
Zeroes too, because even though it's
right.
still 5, they
Yeah.
they count both of them as 2
Right.
games.
in the same way that I guess this Master Collection has Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2.
Phantom
Yeah.
Pain was for the PS4, right? It's never been updated for PS5.
Yeah, it's available on PS5, but you're correct.
It's
they never
never been,
released a
yeah.
It's not like an
PS5 version.
update, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And it's weird because I'm like, it came out. It was on PS3. It came out on PS3, and it was at the very tail end of the PS3. So
Yeah.
they also made it for PS4.
I
and
thought the
Ground Zeroes was
Ground Zeroes or
Both were.
or Prologue or so. What was it?
it is. Ground Zeroes is a prologue
yeah.
2.5.
Yeah.
And then they also brought out the full MGS5 Phantom Pain on both PS3 and PS4.
Huh, I didn't know that.
But you can download. I mean, they have it available on the. I
you
think it
can-
is part of the game, not Game Pass, whatever it's called on PlayStation.
I have the disc of MGS5.
Oh, you do? Okay, yeah.
They
Yeah.
offered both at one point as one of the free monthly
That's
games.
right. It was a
Ground
PS Plus
Zeroes
game, yeah.
one time, and then I think Phantom Pain later they did. But yeah, they're
I'm
fun.
a nerd on it.
We could, it's almost $9.50.
I know. We really only have one major headline.
Yeah, there's
just
not a
do
lot
that.
in the headlines.
and we're talking about chicken. And it's
It's like we already talked about Tim Burton, so
Yeah.
all we got is Chick-fil-A.
and I called this headline "Streaming is my pleasure."
Yeah.
Ew. So is it? Is it really going to be pleasurable?
I just don't even give a. I just don't even care anymore. Like, I mean, good for Chick-fil-A.
I kind of want. I do want to
I'm
read
curious.
this
Yeah, yeah.
article from Deadline that I linked to.
I'm
Again,
interested in like some of the things they're trying, but
I'll have the link in the description below. But what I think is interesting is even how Deadline kind of puts a little positive spin on this.
yeah, it is
And
weird how even
I'm just like
I was surprised to see Deadline actually kind of like being supported. You would
and
think
maybe
they would
this is
knock
why,
them.
because they did, at least when this news first broke, it was an exclusive that I guess Deadline had. But it says Chick-fil-A is moving aggressively into the entertainment space with plans to launch a slate of originals for its own streaming platform. Deadline understands that the fast food firm has been working with a number of major production companies, including some of the studios, to create family-friendly shows, particularly in the unscripted space. It is also in talks to license and acquire content. We hear that this includes family-friendly game show from Glassman Media, the company behind NBC's The Wall, which I've seen. It's just a game show.
Yeah.
Michael Sugar's Sugar 23. I don't know what that is. And also, oddly, behind Netflix's 13 Reasons Why.
Yeah.
Not necessarily family friendly.
The producer, that doesn't mean the...
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, yeah.
True. Yeah, but it was just funny that they brought that one up, and I was like, okay, maybe they did because of the popularity of that
Yeah.
title, but it was just like,
But that's not what you would really picture with Chick-fil-A.
right?
Yeah.
It's like I'm not going to go on there to watch a suicidal teenager
Yes.
drama.
I don't think the show he's making for them will be the same.
No. This was crazy though. Budgets of the unscripted side are believed to be in the range of $400,000 per half hour.
Yeah.
Sources told us that the idea is to launch later this year, and there's also talks of scripted projects and animation. Brian Gibson, who has worked on the series, including history's Top Gear remake and Fox's adaptation of The X Factor, is leading the programming charge and has been in talks with various producers. Chick-fil-A, known for its fried chicken sandwiches, is the latest company outside the entertainment industry to move into making its own originals.
This is the one that I found
Yeah.
interesting.
This is odd.
Yeah.
It joins the likes of Lyft, which has produced shows such as Lucky Lyft.
I didn't even know that
game
was a
show
thing.
hosted by Bob the Drag Queen. The hell is this? And Airbnb, which previously produced documentary Gay Chorus Deep South.
That aired on MD, yeah.
So first of all,
I'm like, what is this?
I agree. I didn't know about them either, but the fact
No.
that Lyft and Airbnb, you already know where they're headed.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's like we're going with the queer angle. Let's go.
But it just,
Let's
I
put
was
it
like-
out there.
I was like, what is this? And nobody's heard of those shows.
No.
Yep.
Yes.
Chick-fil-A, which operates over 3,000 restaurants in the U.S., has previously produced content for its own site before, including Stories of Evergreen Hills, a series of shorts, animated films. It has also diversified into other areas such as making children's puzzles and games under its Penny Cake brand.
Well, that I knew.
One source told Deadline that it was a positive move for the reality TV industry, which has been struggling in recent years. And another source added it was a good opportunity, comparing it to branded content. Chick-fil-A declined to comment. The reason why I thought it was weird for this kind of positive spin, especially at the end of like one person told us who this is, we don't know.
Yeah.
It's great for the reality business because it's been struggling. Yeah, why has it been struggling? One, it's oversaturated and
Yes.
there's too much out there.
Nobody cares.
And it's like, what kind of reality content are you looking for on a specific streaming platform that you can't get of your own liking on something like YouTube or
there-
Rumble?
Like you said, there's so much reality out there, and I really think reality shows have been dying anyways. It's like gone are the days of Survivor or Big
Well, that's the thing, though.
Brother
They're still
or
around.
even Real World. They're still around.
But that's what I'm saying. If you're going to go that route, you either have to have that legacy baked in and fan base is returning,
Yeah.
or why are you going to try to recreate
But
something
even
new?
those shows are dwindling. I was reading
Yeah.
something about they're talking about cutting down the episode number for Survivor and stuff like that because again, not as many people watch as on.
Right.
It's like you don't get this huge a draw. And I mean, good, I guess, if they want reality TV to have a boon, but like we've talked about with so many other things, is like sometimes things come and go, and you can't keep something alive forever, just like the MCU. Sometimes things have their heyday, and it's good to let them rest for a while. Maybe
Yeah.
give it 20 years and come back and do something. And granted, I don't care one way or another much about reality TV. I am interested. It's fun anytime I see something like Chick-fil-A, like AMC buying a gold mine. I'm like, what are you all doing? I'm like, what are you all doing?
What
but
the
at
hell?
But at the same time, I do welcome any type of family content that can compete with the garbage that's been out there, like we have with Daily Wire and Bent Key.
But see, okay,
and-
that's the only angle I could think of.
Yeah.
Was I would agree with you wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
But why not partner with
That's what I was
somebody
gonna
who
say.
has
Yes.
a platform
Yeah, already.
that is geared towards promoting it?
launching it
Yeah.
yourself. It's like, who are you going to, like, what
why
draw are you going to get?
Exactly. And
Sandwiches, bro. It's like, dude, your sandwich is good.
I
I think I'll
mean-
watch your show.
They
That's
they
it.
were the highest growing company for years. I think this is the first year in a long time that they haven't been number one at outperforming like themselves the previous year. Like I think they only came in second or third this year.
it's just weird because I don't understand. And granted, maybe as more comes out, maybe they'll have a whole separate department or brand like offshoot.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
just like they said with the penny cake games, like, or I would not. I would not have known that the parent company of that brand is
was
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A, yeah.
And even this, it's like because we're just calling it Chick-fil-A-Streaming, if it comes under some other completely
Yeah.
different brand or under some other new, and you don't even know it's tied to Chick-fil-A, that makes sense. But
Yeah.
clearly, the reason this news broke was because it's kind of like
Chick-fil-A.
it's
yeah.
Chick-fil-A. Why are they going from the restaurant
Like if
business
someone
to
was
the,
like, yeah,
And I think the more surprising thing is the fact, not just that alone, but streaming services are struggling.
Yeah.
We're seeing the combination or even backroom deals with things like Paramount Plus and other major streaming services trying to absorb.
Discovery,
Right.
It was reality streaming service for the most part. I mean, it was not like competition games. Some of them were, but it was mostly like documentaries. But still, like they had to merge with Max because they weren't getting any viewers.
So I'm gonna read this if I can. This is a comment that somebody left. I think this is
Sums it up.
It's
Sure.
very on the nose.
Yeah.
Actually, let me read two if it's okay.
Sure, absolutely.
Just real quick, because the first comment that's on here, of course, it's from an anonymous person. It says, "I'd be more excited about this if the company weren't owned by right-wing theocrats. Their family-friendly programming will be used to push their evangelical agenda. I worry about the hate that they are going to spread with this platform.
Sure.
It's going to be Fox
Lord.
News with chicken." So Jessica, and I'm not going to say her last name, but she actually isn't anonymous. She cared to show her name for her comment, but she said, "Everything you knew about branding is 100% wrong, and I can prove it. Today, everything is a brand. Case in point, Chick-fil-A recently announces that it's going to quickly move into entertainment space with plans to launch its own streaming service. And most of the comments around this, more or less, have been they need to just stick to chicken." That's kind of like what we were saying. But who is wrong in this situation? The customer who relies on Chick-fil-A to focus on the food, or the company whose focus is on a good customer experience? I think Chick-fil-A is onto something with this, and more importantly, it's 100% on brand for them to create their own content. And that's because chicken is not their brand. It's the physical product they sell. Their brand is family friendly.
True.
That's why they are closed on Sunday. That's why they sell cheaply priced meals. That's why they are in fast food, because families, one of the most painful things is coming up with dinner. They need cheap, fast, and reliable food for everyone, and they need content that matches that brand. Hashtag Chick-fil-A.
And here's the thing, I would
disagree
not
with
disagree with the sentiment.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking, can you pull it off under the same brand?
Right.
As well as, I mean,
I don't think it'll be Chick-fil-A. It'll be Chick-fil-A Presents or something
right.
silly like that.
But still, when you see the if Chick-fil-A is attached to the name of the streaming in any way, people will be like it's like McDonald's, like, I'm not watching a McDonald's streaming service, but you also know with McDonald's it'd be garbage.
Yeah.
Like their sentiment with Chick-fil-A, you do know they have always been focused on giving the best service they can. So hopefully that would carry over.
One comment says if you're purchasing food on their app, that would be cool if it was tied to their streaming services to the point where when you amass so many points on your app,
you're watching so many different,
you get free.
Well, and that's kind
you
of
get free month or something like that.
It'd be funny too if it's
Yeah.
almost like Apple, where you see product placement,
Yeah.
they're like eating a Chick-fil-A sandwich. It's like a little thing pops up in the corner, it's like, you want a Chick-fil-A? We can deliver it to you right
I
now.
know.
now.
It's like
Yeah.
you're in the
Here's
middle
your
of
sweet
watching a movie.
tea.
It's like, you want us to deliver you a Chick-fil-A sandwich? Well, heck yeah, go ahead.
And it's funny too, because I'll also go back to her comment about them being family friendly. Very much that is their image. However, and I'm not going to get too far down the rabbit hole on this, but I do listen to. She's got quite a few, she's got quite a lot of followers.
Yeah.
But Alex Clark, a conservative at Turning Point, she kind of has her message has been very much on the health front.
Mm-hmm.
And going crunchy, as they call it, in terms of trying to be as pure as possible, not eating a bunch of ultra processed foods
Or fried.
or fried foods,
Yeah.
and just trying to be as healthy and back to, again, pure and natural sources. I mean, again, processing is not bad in and of itself. It's how processed is
Right,
it,
yeah.
and what processes is the food going through. And unfortunately, Chick-fil-A is one of those restaurants where she had a woman on who was talking about how that was one of the first businesses they went after, because it's considered to be one of the highest.
Yeah.
It's not only one of the highest grossing, restaurants in terms of how many people eat there, but it has that family friendly appeal.
Yeah.
And so it's like, how family friendly are you if you're trying to poison my family with the food that you serve?
Yeah.
And granted, the woman, she met with corporate and like listed off her big list of complaints, and she said they were like meeting her halfway in terms of like, well, here's what we can move on. And basically it was just they were willing to get rid of like GMO chicken and trying to figure out ways they could, their supply chain wouldn't be strained. They can meet their demand.
That's still
Yeah.
more than I feel other companies might do.
No,
Yeah,
absolutely,
for sure,
absolutely. Well,
yeah.
because they saw it as an attack on not just their image. It's not like the woman was going. I think the woman was particularly going after him because she knew that the image they were
Well, that is
pursuing,
their image, yeah.
right. But then they ended up were solidly on board with her for like almost a half a year.
Yeah.
And then they came back out, and there were basically ways in which I guess it inhibited them from growing, and they came out with a statement, and they had to reverse course.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: all I'm saying is, at the end of the day, they're a business.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I don't fault them for that.
I agreed, but I'm also not going to sit here and say either their hands are completely clean. They're fast food.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
fast food for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you want to say, oh, well, it's a healthier alternative than
I would never
McDonald's,
no,
it's
I don't
still
consider
fast
Chick-Fil-A
food.
healthy.
The healthy
but
alternatives, you cook your food at home.
I
Yeah.
appreciate them for being a family, like a business that does give good service to everyone.
Well, and this is where this is where I would argue on behalf of, if their main goal was to produce this content to push family friendly as their agenda and keep it there. And even like the first comment was being condescending in the sense that it was, it's going to push evangelical right wing values.
Yeah.
Well, damn it. Okay, fine. Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad at least one
Disney's
company
pushing the opposite values, so
I was like,
so
I'm
there we're
so
even.
sorry you have to be out there
I
in
always
the
hate
midst.
that. It's like they're going to brainwash our children. It's like what's going on now?
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I mean,
No, but that's the thing. Brainwash them with what?
Yeah.
exactly.
What are
Exactly.
you going to, propagandize them with what?
Yeah.
And so heaven forbid we have one company out there who's pushing values on one side of the aisle that doesn't want our kids to grow up into a bunch of freaks. And it's like, I'll applaud that all day long. But why not go to a business like a Daily Wire, who will gladly partner with you and what your brand represents, and is also pushing their... Because you could also sit here and say, well, Daily Wire does the razor business and the chocolate business. I'm like, it's also under a different brand.
Yeah.
It's Jeremy's Razors.
Yeah.
And in fact, I really wanted Jeremy's Razors to put some kind of cheeky comment on their chocolate when it came to Halloween.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry, our razors are not in our chocolate. They never went that route. But I really wanted
They
them
probably
to do
don't want to
that.
terrify
that
the
would
children.
be good.
They don't want people to associate the razors with
the
the chocolate. But I'm like, hey, you
Yeah.
called it. I mean, it's funny because you go on Jeremy's Razor website and it's a separate link in a drop down that goes to Jeremy's Chocolate.
Yeah.
But it's still under the brand of Jeremy's Razors LLC.
Yeah.
So you could still see it's tied to that without being two separate companies. But you already have Daily Wire, which has become a media conglomerate that has Bent Key as a subsidiary that then provides kids content. And even they partnered with the people who produced, I think, was it Dude Perfect?
It's
I forget who else is on
Incredible
YouTube.
or something. They're like Dude Perfect, but they're not. They're Australian guys that
Right.
do the same thing Dude Perfect does.
And it's crazy because when I saw that on there,
Yeah.
I was kind of taken aback because I know they have a huge following, and I've watched their stuff on YouTube,
Yeah.
and I was like, how are they able to stream that on here? But they went out and
Yeah.
created a deal that, shook hands on it, and now they're partners
Yeah.
to stream that content.
All four of those guys are Christians, by the way.
Oh, really? I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
The Dude Perfect guys and the Australian guys that are, I forgot what the name of the show is.
I did,
My
too.
kids watch it, but they're all four
Yeah, I didn't know that.
evangelical Christians. Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know why they wouldn't go that route. This
Yeah.
just seems, no pun intended, and a weird pun, but this seems fishy to me.
Yeah.
At Chick-fil-A, no fish.
It just-
they know
they don't
chicken.
have
It
chick
seems like an
or
odd
fish.
thing. Again, like maybe not as crazy, like as I said, as AMC buying a gold mine, but it is one of those things where you wonder, it's like, why?
Well, how long will
Like,
it
I don't know.
last? Even
Yeah.
if they do this, it's like
Well, and I was going to say, the biggest huge complaint that I have is just, again, the landscape.
Yeah.
Considering the amount of streaming services there already are with way bigger names,
Yes. Yep.
way bigger libraries that are flopping, even if you can gear it towards family-friendly, how much content is there
Yeah.
to support it? Now, granted, if you, like you said, if they build some kind of offshoot that fits into, like, the Chick-fil-A app, and you're on the app and you're about to, and then you have a
Watch
way
a
of
little
like
video or something, I guess, for kids. Here, watch this.
Right.
you wait.
I really don't
Instead
know.
of giving
you're
them a
at
color,
curbside.
instead of giving them a coloring page and crayons, now it's just watch our show on your app.
Yeah.
Well,
I
and
don't
that's
know.
the other thing. I mean, how much of, especially in Christian circles, aren't we trying to, as a society, limit screen time
True.
from
Yeah.
our kids? And like, I just feel like there's other ways in which, because even under that other brand, Penny Cake Brands or whatever it is,
Yeah.
where they're pushing games, I'm like,
Yeah.
at least there you could cultivate the idea of like, oh, we make board games so families can come together and you can eat your chicken around the table and play Monopoly.
Well, they put some of that
You
little
know?
crap, like the little books and little puzzles,
In
like
their-
in the
yeah.
kids' toys.
Yeah.
So I mean,
It's like, yeah, exactly. Right there, you have a direct source of like,
yeah.
supply it directly from our own house, and we're going to put it in our own bags. Yeah.
It's interesting.
It's very odd. I just don't see it taking off.
I just
But
think
I could
it's
be
gonna
wrong.
Funny to like turn on my Apple TV and see a little Chick-fil-A icon.
I still
on
think
there
it's
as
freaking
an
weird
app.
that Apple puts their crap in. I'm waiting for even a show like C
Yeah.
to somehow find like a mysterious relic from the future, and it has an Apple logo on it, and it's just like, look, the morning show is sprinkled with Max. And
Oh, yeah.
Ted Lasso.
Ted
is
Lasso.
huge.
They
Yeah.
always have that. Every device is an Apple device.
And I get it. I know they look. They're spending money on it, and they're producing the show. But I just think at the end of the day, I mean, even Apple, they have the deeper pocketbooks than any one of these
that's my
streaming
concern
services.
with Chick-fil-A is I'm not saying Chick-fil-A doesn't have deep pocketbooks, but I mean,
How deep do they
like,
go?
yeah, how deep are your pocketbooks that you can afford production when half of Hollywood's failing in production right now? And this lady mentions cheap family meals, but I mean, if you can't get your, like, Netflix operates in the red half the time anyways. If Chick-fil-A can't get their shows in the black, do their price of their food start going up to compensate? Because that would be a problem.
Well, and like you said, and again,
Good point.
if there is that, I understand the angle of coming at it from a family-friendly point of
Yeah.
view and saying, hey, well, the reason Hollywood's failing is because it hasn't returned to these core values, and we want to support them.
Yeah.
But I just don't know if you're going to be able to support it wholeheartedly yourself without partnering or having that revenue stream. Because here's the other thing: whether they have individuals who own the businesses, because I know they are just like McDonald's franchisees, that own each building. But it's still, there is a supply chain that have to supply these stores. And at the end of the day, if there's any kind of shortage or any kind of quality hit to your main business, is it really worth the time and effort to put your eggs in this basket when it could end up
Eggs in this basket.
which came
Nice.
first?
Well, we mentioned Bentkey, and that's a gripe we had in the past of, like, you know, Daily Wire launching their service but not having a lot of content to launch with. It's like,
There's still really not a lot on there. We have it, and we scroll through it. I mean, we've watched everything that's age appropriate on there.
but
And there's
I would
there's
imagine,
nothing
like,
new.
I think they have enough to justify them having the service. It's like with Chick-fil-A, it's the same thing. It's like, were you going to have enough content to be able to justify, like, if you don't have enough content to keep people coming back, and your
Well, and
pockets
that's the
aren't
other
deep
thing.
enough to keep providing, it's like at some
and even
point
with
you run
Bent
into a wall.
Key, part of subscribing to it or is the support of knowing that you're supporting a business that that at least its mission and forefront is to create this content for kids and families that you know are within your purview of your morals and your values.
And nobody's getting just Bent Key. Like,
Right,
I mean, you
it's-
can pay $100 a year for Bent Key, or you can pay $100 a year for Daily Wire and Bent Key.
Right.
And nobody's doing just Bent Key. That's
Right.
why they priced it that way, because they knew nobody would do it.
Right.
But so you are getting the Daily Wire films. You're getting grown-up movies too, which are very good, by
And
the
all-
way.
all their
and all
shows
of their
and, yeah.
shows. So I'm cool with paying the money to get all of the access to the adult stuff that I want to see, but in terms of what my kids have to watch, there's nothing on there.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of puppet shows and a Bluey wannabe that's good, but it's Bluey and
Chipchilla is
Chipchilla,
the one
yes.
you're talking about,
and it is good. It is cute, but it's like once your kids start getting older and they age out of that stuff, there's nothing for teenagers
well, and
or
you
nothing
almost
for
know that they understand they're buttressing that content at the time with Daily Wire.
Yeah.
But that as that content rolls out, they at least have a business plan that I think it relies on that succeeding.
They have a foundation
And
to just put
exactly.
more on there, and I don't doubt that they will.
But that's the difference.
At
that's
this moment,
their
they
business
don't.
model.
Yeah,
that is what they're in bed with.
yeah.
Media,
Chick-fil-A is in bed with chicken. It's
Yeah.
like your model is to sell people delicious food. And while I would agree with the one comment who says, no, it's much more than that. It's about family values and good service and quality service. Okay, yes, but outside of the realm, in what regard? I mean, again, when the chickens come home to roost.
Oh man,
I
Yeah.
can't help
all
it.
the puns.
They just keep coming.
He's full of ever since
I
that
know it.
fantastic comment.
Yeah.
He's just been going.
I'm going crazy with that. But that's really what I think is going to be the question here is how far with all of these other digital streaming services that have the deep catalogs, still not even able to entice enough people to subscribe to them for $5, $6, $7 a month.
Yeah.
You're going to somehow come out of the gate with content that you've either again, even if it's original content, there's only so much of that. And like you said, even if you have one stellar hit, you're talking about 12 episodes of something, and then what are you subscribing for?
Yep. Especially if it takes you another year, or two to come out with another season
and even
of that.
If you're pulling stuff that is family friendly, but from already produced, and you're buying it, the rights to put it on your service. We already know from, again, these other platforms that have deep catalogs, that's not enough to keep people. They just aren't. They're coming and going as they please, but it's not enough to meet this bottom line that has made streaming services really be the ultimate cord cutter.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that, look, I'm all about it. I think it's great to see them try to bring those morals and values home with regard to being there for the voiceless in this, I would say in this political landscape.
Yeah.
From, I think, Christian households, no doubt. I just think they're better partnering with other people who have platforms or other people who have different ventures that they want to go with or go into and spread that message and evangelize that way. I think they're better off looking for those alternatives than to try to just be AMC buying gold mine.
Yeah, I think it's important to all of the. This is not the only article that I've read about it. My wife shared one with me that was from a different, but none of them are official. None of them have an announcement, and all of them say Chick-fil-A has not made any comments. So, how do we even know this is true?
True.
It could be something completely different. Maybe there a rumors out there so that somebody will say, hey, instead of trying to do this, maybe would you be wanting to partner up with us? It could just be, let's toss it out there and see what anybody thinks. But
this literally could have just been them putting out feelers.
Yeah.
And just trying to get a read on like how wacko is this? Are there people who understand the angle we're going for? Could there be enough support that's drummed up by this kind of leaking or getting out there that we now have other investors who are like, hey, we kind of see what you're doing. We're willing to jump in.
Yeah. And who knows?
And honestly, if it brought like a Daily Wire or, Jeremy Boren's like calling up the CEO and like, hey, let's talk. Like, what do y'all want to do? Like, we'd love to carve out, a little section here just that you can promote, that promotes us, and we're willing to help you. We got the platform, because that's the other thing that I think even Jeremy Boring mentioned about Daily Wire is he said we're not a news outlet.
Yeah.
So that's one aspect of what we do. But he's like, even when you go to the website, he's like, it's a video platform. He's like, we built a video streaming platform to house our content, and that's what we started with podcasts and video, videos of our podcasts. But he's like, but to release movies, to release, series that are, docuseries and whatnot. He said we had to build a platform that we knew would be robust enough that we could add our own content, but that also maybe could expand. And so I'm like, hey, look, if they're coming at an angle where they like are approaching other businesses who want to get into this space and just, they don't want to put it out there with YouTube or even on Rumble because that's more for the independent. And you go to those platforms, you have YouTube who pushes their algorithm and you can't trust them.
Yeah.
And they're only going to push the big names that they know or the content that they want out there. This is why we talked about it last week. This is why SNL. This is why your late night talk shows get millions of views, not because people are seeking it out. It's on the front page of YouTube.
Yeah.
And so they're pushing the content. So if you have alternatives that are major, that gets millions of visitors a day, that you can also push a specific type of content that pushes the message you want them to see, then hey, that's a platform I can get behind.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know if that is. I think you're right. I think it may be just putting out fillers to see what direction.
Yeah, when they make an official announcement about something like this, that's when I'll bite. But I don't. Who knows?
And who knows?
Maybe they got a secret sauce. I don't know.
It came out. He did it. I love it. That was beautiful. Oh, there's Chick-fil-A sauce is so good.
It is.
It's so good.
I don't even want their food. I just want the sauce.
I know.
I put their sauce on everything.
So good. That I ain't gonna lie.
It's bad for you,
Yeah.
but it's good.
They've started doing that melted cheese sauce too that you can buy.
Oh, really?
What?
I didn't know
Oh,
they had it
yeah.
melted. I haven't eaten Chick-fil-A in forever.
Dude,
though.
I'll dip the
if
fries
you
in that.
if you make eggs at home when you're
Yeah.
scrambling eggs, if you take just a little squirt of Chick-fil-A sauce on
yeah?
that while you're scrambling it and stir it up,
I bet.
it just disappears.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't. It just like dilutes down to clear. And it coats all the egg, and then when you eat it, it's got that smoky mayonnaise taste to it.
Don't
Oh
tell
my
me
God,
this.
it's
I'm
so
gonna have to
good.
get because they sell them
It's
now.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They sell them.
You can get a bottle.
We
yeah.
get it at
I
Kroger.
like that. I like the Chick-fil-A and the Polynesian sauce.
The
They're both
Polynesian is
Polynesian
good too.
is good.
It's
Sriracha
good.
sauces, they're
It's
the red
okay.
stuff's okay.
It's okay. I mean, I'm not.
He just dogged on. He's like, it's all right.
I'm not
all
a
right.
big sriracha. Like I love hot sauce,
it's
but that's
hot.
the one. Like I'm just not a big like the flavor of sriracha is not. my-
Oh, see,
like
I don't like vinegar.
Any
hot sauce,
any
but-
sriracha. Like I like sriracha on certain things, but it's just not my go-to. It's like the least.
We gotta.
Yeah.
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 Hey, it's been my pleasure.
Game over, man. Game over.
All right, let's move
Nice.
into our final segment of the night. That is our vices.
What are you doing over there?
He's
Keith?
doing
Pulling out my nipple hairs.
Oh,
Whoa.
I thought he was T-Rexing
whoa.
over there. He
Nah,
was
he's
like,
pulling out my nipple hairs.
I don't.
do
The
that.
camera. Heard,
That's an inside joke. Nobody knows that I'm talking
no,
about.
they don't.
they do now.
He was pulling them out.
I like to do that.
Just whenever you. That's not like.
Sean sounds
He's
like
like-
he was into it.
The audio
like,
versions. He's like.
Sean's like,
I
I
wanna
like
hear
hear
that.
about that. That's my vice.
I wanna
is
hear you
pulling-
do it. I wanna
That's my
hear it.
vice is pulling out nipple hairs.
Well, yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't know what the topic was going to be. It's going to be. How often do you pull out your nipple hairs? No, we are talking about, and this is kind of anti-vice.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't know what
It's
it
a little
is.
bit- I came up with this topic out of nowhere. Having time to be bored. So not indulging in your vices.
I hadn't hit that one yet. There was no
That's-
reason
don't know,
for it. I
'cause
just
if I'm-
hadn't hit
If I'm
it.
bored,
That's what I'm
then
saying.
that's what I'm gonna do. Is
Yeah.
I'm gonna
But
go to
that's
something.
and that's kind of
So
why.
do you want time to be bored or you don't want to? See,
no,
I don't.
I think yes, trying to find time to just not do anything.
Okay, but see, that's different from me than being bored. Because
Yeah.
I'm not. If I want to just not do anything, I'm not bored. That's what I want to do.
That's right.
Yeah.
If I want to lay on the hammock and not listening
And not
to screaming kids,
yes.
That's
then
kind of
I
what
go do that.
That's what I
Yeah,
mean.
yeah.
But I'm not bored when I'm doing it. I'm relaxed.
I'm like, this is what I want to do. Yeah.
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 Okay, maybe I'm thinking
Yeah.
more in terms of kids. It's like because here's the thing: when you were a kid,
I'm terrible
And-
about being bored. I'll find something to do.
Now, when I'm bored, I will do something vice-worthy. That's when I'm like, if I'm bored, I'm going to binge 3 hours of a video game. Like, I'm going to play a video game on my butt with a bag
See,
of potato
and
chips
I-
next to me.
I'm awful because I'll binge like I'll go down a YouTube rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Or that, if
Yeah.
I'm bored.
I don't
yeah.
do that as much. You said when you were a kid, though. What were you saying?
So like when you were a kid, we always at some point ran up to our parents.
Oh, yeah.
and we're just like, I don't have nothing to do. I'm bored.
Mhm.
And of course, you know they would just roll their eyes because.
Yeah. You
So
got
get out the
1,000
house.
toys in your
Yeah,
room.
exactly.
Like you can go find something
Yeah.
to do.
Right.
Get out.
And then there were times too where when I got older and then I wouldn't come out of my room, they were like, "What are you doing up there? Get out of your room! Like, quit being
I'm not bored anymore.
quit being antisocial." Right?
I know what he's talking about.
He's up there pulling more than his nipple hairs.
that's
I'll tell
right.
you that right now.
Got that special sock.
You get to a certain age, you don't want to come out of your room anymore.
That special sock Deadpool's talking about.
Yep.
Get your special sock out, nerds.
That is not the vice I'm talking about with being bored.
I'm saying.
Something's as stiff as a
If
board.
I'm
but
bored,
I'm not talking about that.
I told you, if I'm bored, I will find something to do.
Oh gosh.
It's like, well, I'm bored. I got nothing else to do. Might as well do that.
That's like that's men. That's where our minds go
Sadly,
immediately.
that's we just go down the
I
dirt
say,
path.
I'm telling you, in Zack and Miri, in that movie, I don't want to say that Zack and Miri make a porno.
That's
Yeah.
the name of the movie.
Yeah,
I
in that
mean,
movie, Seth Rogen says it best. He's like, "You give me 2 popsicle sticks and a rubber band, and I'll find a way to do what, find a way to
Trying
bang
to make it
That's
sexual?
exactly what he says,
Oh my god!
and it's the truth.
I'm telling you, man. Oh my gosh, this is not where I wanted the conversation.
I mean,
to
that
go.
wasn't where I intended it to go.
Not
but
at all.
You
That's
mentioned
not
not
what I
coming
was
out of your room, and I
Yeah.
just,
I just think it's fun. That's just funny to me to think of a teenager just be like, I don't have anything better to do. I'm just gonna do that.
So like, might as well.
I don't know if I've ever been to that point of boredom where I'm just like, shoot, I don't have anything to do except masturbate.
Usually it's the aftermath. That's the aftermath. You're really done. You're like,
oh man, now what do I do? I'm bored.
Again, not what I anticipated on being bored.
Yeah, this conversation did not nowhere near what he was thinking of.
Not
when
what
he
I was
created
expecting at all. I was thinking, what do you do to relax?
But how do you find time? Make time, yeah.
Making time that you don't have anything scheduled or nothing to do. That's where I wanted to go with this conversation.
Yeah.
To avoid your vices, to not give in to the times that you're just like, oh man, I'm gonna go out there and smoke a cigar just because I have that. I mean, because that's relaxing.
Yeah.
But sometimes I feel like the anticipation of doing something that you've set aside as relaxing is, again, it's not like I don't know. I found it far more enjoyable in moments where it's just kind of off the cuff, spur of the moment, like wasn't planned.
Yeah.
Way more relaxing because, again, I didn't have anything scheduled or planned. I mean, like, I know Tuesdays is nice before the show to come over to eat, over at Brian's and to have a cigar. But it's still different than like when we first started doing that before it became routine.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we can get so caught up in just daily routines and going, along with the hustle and bustle, you don't set aside time to just not do anything. And again, that's not
okay. See, now I'm feeling you because that I get. No,
right.
Because I'm actually it's difficult for me to set a time like to not do anything because I feel like I should be doing something. So like when I get like to a day where I'm like I have nothing planned or
it feels weird,
and I'm like I could go outside and smoke a cigar, and I'm like, but what do I need to do?
Exactly.
I feel like I shouldn't go smoke a cigar because there has to be something that I should
wait till
be
you're
doing.
married with kids. There's people that will remind you there's something you should be doing.
And that's when you're in the bedroom.
It's like I'm gonna go outside and lay on the hammock because that's the thing that I do when I want to relax. That's the most relaxing thing to me is going out in the backyard, getting on my hammock, and just closing my eyes and listening to my neighbor scream. And so it's like, there's always somebody that's like, the grass needs to be cut.
Right.
We need to get this done. Oh, we got to do this for school or whatever. And it's like, okay. But yeah.
Well, and I was going to say, I don't know if it was maybe this was a joke my parents made up or they heard it from somebody. I don't know. But it was like, they would always joke, if I needed to know where one of y'all were, I would just go to the bathroom because every time I would go to the bathroom and close the door, that's when somebody would need something. So they'd come. Yeah. So it was it's funny because I'm like, you're right. As an adult, because it is different for kids because that's the thing that parents understood when they would tell their kids, like, no, run off and you can find something to entertain yourself.
Yeah.
Because one, they are having to deal with you. And it's like, no, one, you got too much crap that I've already bought for you and that you can play with.
That was our whole summer this summer.
And yet at the same time, they also understand that once you get responsibilities, you very rarely have that chance to just not worry about anything.
Yeah, go enjoy
and so
yourself.
to have the luxury to not worry about it, again, it's a luxury that kids don't have. They don't have a luxury of realizing that, hey, one day you're going to have these responsibilities. You're not going to be a kid forever. Enjoy it before, no, I want to get a driving or I want to get my license. I want to be able to drive. I want to go places. It's like, no, trust me.
Yeah.
Once you have a responsibility of car insurance, gas, and buying groceries.
You don't want to go anywhere.
You're sitting here realizing, no, I got to stay in. I got to
Mom,
save
can I catch
money.
a ride?
Exactly.
Gas is too expensive.
So I'm like, it comes from the expectation of always, feeling guilty for setting aside time where you don't have anything to do.
100. Every anytime, I'm doing something free time or something that's not, I guess, productive. My anxiety kicks in and I'm like, could I be doing something else right now?
Right.
Like, could I, instead of playing a game or reading a book or floating in my pool, it's like,
and I mean, does it come,
should I be doing?
Like from, yes, it does come from us being adults and having children if you do and you are married, but is it also from that, just the culture that we live in, the society of the hustle and bustle or, feeling like, we're not living up to our fullest extent? Or where does that pressure and that anxiety
There's
come
a lot of things that I need to get done. Like, let's just say, just like stuff around the house, fixing things, updating things, whatever, cleaning things. There's things like that, but it's like I can't get them done when I'm being pulled in 3 different directions.
Yep.
And so, like, my wife and kids, all 3 went to stay with my mom for 3 or 4 days. Because I couldn't take off work because I had already taken off for the lake. And so I couldn't get any more days that soon. So I didn't go. I stayed home. I worked. They were gone. I was alone. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is going to be great. Because I'm going to watch whatever I want on TV. I'm going to go out on my hammock because that's what I want to do. I'm going to smoke more cigars than I normally get to a week. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to be able to. But, then when I went to do those things, I get on my hammock and I'm 15, 20 minutes in and I'm like, while the kids aren't here, I need to go upstairs and replace their ceiling fan.
There it is.
I ended up having to do that crap. And it's like,
which it feels good to get it done.
It does, but I ended up giving myself crap to do so that I couldn't relax.
It's funny because I've joked with the guys at work that I almost, anytime I take vacation, we always go on the lake trip, but I always say that I kind of want 2 weeks off because I'm like, I want a week to relax and not do anything. And it's like by the time I get to the end of that week, I'm always rearing and ready because I'm relaxed enough that I want to actually have another week to get stuff done.
Yeah.
And it's like, even when I take a vacation for myself, I more or less end up in that same spot. It's like 1 or 2 days go by of me just kind of chilling, thinking, hey, I'm on vacation. I'm going to relax. And honestly, that is why I do enjoy the lake trip, because when you're away from it,
there's nothing for you to do.
You can't do anything.
Relax. Yeah.
Right. You're forced into, hey, I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to focus on that. It's not my responsibility right now. You're forced into relaxation. Yeah. It is a blessing. Because there are times where, again, whether it's eating nasty, terrible junk food, Chick-Fil-A for you. They don't have Chick-fil-A down there. I wish they did.
Yeah.
I would order it down there. Oh, yeah.
I think they did Bowling Green. If you're willing to drive long enough.
Yeah, we went to
Bowling
that.
Green.
What was that crappy restaurant we went to at Bowling Green?
I don't know. What it was not some hot dog place.
It was called Dog something.
It was definitely a place you'd take like your little league team to after a win.
I don't know about little league. But the service, it seemed more adult-oriented, like college-oriented, because it was just a bar and beer.
Well, I think that was at the time we went.
Well, I'm just saying,
seemed like a
all
local,
the time. It just seemed like a local, like where
local yokel.
It seemed
place,
where the college kids went to me is
right.
like because it was right there next to WK. Yeah.
Well, that's true.
Yeah,
it was a BW3s without the wings.
Yeah. But it was definitely not. But all in all,
it was just
the Buc-ee's experience was better. Yeah, that was definitely worth it.
Yeah.
I'll take that over. No offense. Chick-fil-A's. You got 2 different things. You got brisket and you got chicken.
Yeah. There's difference.
But man, I could have ate
They're
both
going to
that
kill you.
night.
It's fine.
And sometimes it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's where I struggle with sometimes, even because like you were even saying, like listing off responsibilities. Like there's still things that I know, whether it's replacing like a friggin' wood plank out on my deck that has been, rotten and I need to just replace it because it's already got a hole in it, or a piece of the vinyl flooring in my kitchen that I've got, that has been like that for like a year. Mm-hmm. And it's terrible because mostly the cage stays over at my pup's cage, so I don't really see it. But it is one of those things where it's like I'll get to it, but setting aside the time apart from even my normal like weekly responsibilities, because I'm already so chock full to the brim of things that I have to get done on a weekly basis. It's like even trying to schedule in that little sliver. Heck, whether it's stuff with the podcast and wanting to do more with the podcast or produce another Margaret's Monsters, it's like setting aside the time frame to do that on top of all the responsibilities that I've already, taken on. It just, you still do have to try to find that time that you're like, all right, no, I am intentionally going to just relax. Yeah. I have to, because if you don't, you drive yourself mad.
Yeah.
You drive yourself nuts. And I think that in and of itself, that can become a vice of just overscheduling and over anticipating too much.
I agree.
You found a way to flip it back around to vices.
You got it. Good. Well, you got it. I think where you originally wanted it was good. We just couldn't figure that out until like halfway through.
That's a vice.
Yeah.
There it is.
That is a
there it
vice.
is.
Yeah.
Getting off topic.
Yeah, getting off topic.
We
is a
do that
vice.
all the time on
Yeah.
the show.
Metal Gear.
Oh, yeah.
We got another half hour.
I'm going to go play it.
Hey, I could at least finish my love and explanation for it longer than it would take for you to watch a cutscene in Metal Gear Solid 4.
That's true. That's
I have
true.
played all of MGS4,
Oh, that one's.
but I
love it.
don't think I watched an hour and a half long cutscene.
It was at the very
I
end.
must have skipped through it.
You might have finished, turned it off before because there is a scene at the end after the credits roll that, no lie, is like a 40-minute cutscene that wraps up. I could go into it. It's
good.
just
I know I've heard that
All
there's
the
a long, but I
stories,
don't.
yeah.
I know in those cutscenes you can skip through them.
Yeah, you can.
You can.
So there's probably some that I'm just like I just don't
Right,
care.
right.
I just want to play the game.
And here's
I
the
don't
thing,
care.
and it is crazy because it's like it as a fan, and this is why
I loved
5
it.
ticked me off is as a fan, Kojima did not fall back until 5. 5 was more gameplay centric, which in the grand scheme of things and where it fits story wise for whatever story it has, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't lead to anything that's so foundational that is detrimental to knowing the whole story of Metal Gear.
The end of the story is still 4.
Yeah. And
Okay.
that's what I'm glad about.
5
I'm
takes
like,
place before the first game.
if you play
so-
1, 2, 3, and 4, you're good. You're golden.
Yeah,
You got a complete
those
cohesive
4,
story.
Like I always say, 3 is my favorite now, but like for so long, like really 2, 3, and 4, like I jumped around because 2 was the only one I could play on Xbox when I only had an Xbox.
Played it all the time.
And I played it all the time. And then like 3 is just a better game, and then 4 being the ending. It's just like those 3 games, like
Yeah. And they're each
that area,
uniquely different. But again, Kojima, he has a way. I mean, we all noticed it because we all played Death Stranding. He's just got a way with adding his own taste and, borrowing so much from what we know. He's a
and just
he's
like
a fan
you
of
said,
cinema.
doing a cinematic story
Right.
in a game, because
Right.
that's what I love about Death Stranding. Was
I mean,
the
and
story.
it's what I loved about. One that I think does it just as well, if not better, but also much more concise, is something like Uncharted. I mean, we saw it with Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog was able to do that as well. And if I'm gonna play a game, I want to play a game that doesn't waste my time and that I can. It's thoroughly enthralling and story driven, and those did it for me. And I just have so many experiences of just fondness and love for that franchise. And one day maybe I'll be put in a director's chair and I can direct Metal Gear Solid because. Lord knows it's been in
development hell for 20 years.
Yeah, ridiculous. Ever since the first game practically came on the scene, it's been in development hell. Alrighty, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of the Red Moon Podcast. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Until next time, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
and I didn't say email or social or nothing.
Nothing.
I've already rolled the
Keep
out.
Cheatham. RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
Fantastic. There's our social on the screen.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.